For more on the latest developments in the US-Iran tensions, we are joined by Dr. Melih Demirtas, former Turkish diplomat, live from Ankara. Thank you for joining us. Now, Iraq's leadership have condemned the strikes on its soil, but what message do these strikes send about the scope of the conflict?
I think this conflict has started to have, again, some important impact upon the wider region. We can say that US-Iran war started as a bilateral enmity. We all know that the decades of this enmity between this United States-Iranian relations. But I think starting, of course, with provocations of Israel, it is not a secret, I think, especially nowadays, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is still in the US territory, and we are seeing, of course, new provocations going on. Of course, Iran retaliations, Iran's answers is also, they are start to be much more, direct, also stronger. And now some other territories are started to be used more. Like Iraq. I always remember that this Iran-Iraq war in the 1980s, also with the push, also with this direct support of the United States, of course, at that time, Iraq. And nowadays, I think Iraq is not at that time's Iraq. Of course, something's changed now after Saddam Hussein's in Iraq's regime, Iraq's administration. But still, I think with the new tactics or with the new maybe war-like situation, United States still have some other plans for the regionalization of this war. And now I think our neighbor, also Turkish neighbor, Iraq, has a new responsibility to make this, tense atmosphere, to use it in a much more diplomatic way. It is a very difficult, of course, days for Iraq, but still the Iranian influence, in the administration of Iraq, also we know that, but also the provocations of the US and Israeli side, they must play a very key diplomatic player. Otherwise, we can see hard days or difficult days, especially in a very near region also of Turkey.
Well, you say that the US has other plans for the region. What do you think those other plans are?
I think Mr. Trump's already said that these are maybe the days for Iranian regimes. They must think otherwise, like if the United States supremacy or primacy, especially first of all in the Strait of Hormuz, is not accepted by this Iranian regime, they will retaliate. They will always have some other kinds of attacks. We do not know still, of course, some ground attacks, some military personnel, other maybe groups like this Kurdish minority. Unfortunately, Turkey has had some very difficult years. We know that these groups are directly used against Turkey, against the other sides of this region. And now Iran is the next target for using such groups. I think the United States has many tactics. And these tactics can be like using these groups, like using some really military weaponry and new technology. And with the help of these Israeli intelligence services and Israeli, of course, provocative regime, we can say that all these players, I think also Saudi Arabia must be very careful, because we know that there is still a very skillful usage of this, sectarian differences. We know that Shiite, Sunnis, all these historical differences make some tensions for decades in this region. And United States, and especially Israel, knows these separations very well. Unfortunately, Turkey, watched all this tension very, very carefully. And we already speak, I think, with also partners from, of course, United States, also Iran, also with Pakistan. And we are still hopeful for more diplomacy.
So what advice would you give to regional leaders then, if they want to sort of avoid having the US get involved and possibly cause more problems like you're suggesting?
I only think that much more multilateralism. I only think that much more institutionalism, like, first of all, with the hand of United Nations. We must be really careful that this bilateral or this unilateral regime or ideas, aims, like the United States and Israel did this in the region, in this very region, these last 3 years, it is very, dangerous for all partners in this very Middle Eastern intersection of Middle East and Eurasia, because I am also very curious that what will be the linkage with this Ukrainian war, with the Iranian war, even this Palestinian genocide. I think all these linkages, tells us something, that something's really start to be also reshaped by some actors. Because of this, we need more help of some multilateral cooperation, and because of this, we need more help of United Nations, first of all. Unfortunately, Mr. Trump especially thinks another way. He already, undermines this authority of United Nations. Mr. Guterres, Secretary General. We are still hopeful. This multilateralism, what we need in this region.
So you are hopeful and you believe that there is still room for diplomacy. What advice would you give specifically to the mediators like Pakistan, Qatar and Oman?
Also, this is not what our brothers, I mean, from Pakistan, also some important strategic partner like Qatar, they are really doing their best. Already, I mean, Pakistan and Egypt recently condemned very harsh or very directly Israel's actions in West Bank, in Palestine. Also, some things really continuing all this truce plan, Gaza peace plan, what Mr. Trump calls in a shiny way, but still some humanitarian catastrophes really continues there. But I think, brothers, I mean, or really skillful mediators in Pakistan, also this regional play of Egypt and Qatar, they are making something to push United States much more to diplomatic real. But of course, we all must support them. Also, United Nations must support them. Otherwise, this player, also United States and Russia, even China, somehow they can really affect this region in their own interest, and it will be not optimistic for this diplomacy and diplomatic solutions.
Dr. Melih Demirtas joining us from Ankara. Thank you very much for your thoughts.